This is Ladies Advanced Strength, Phase 3, Day 2. This is the Romanian deadlift. So you can start your set there, Lily. So grab the bar tight as you can, and step back. Chest up, shoulders back, toes pointing out, and you can start the set. So I'll talk you through the main coaching points. So to make the exercise as effective as possible, you want to focus on glutes and hamstrings as much as possible and as little as possible on the lower back. So to do that, what you want to do is make sure that your hips or your glutes are pushing as far back as possible past your heels. So at the bottom of the movement, they're pushing really far back. Now, you don't have to go very low. Anything below the knee is good. But the further back you can go, the better if your flexibility allows. What you'll feel happening if your flexibility isn't good is you'll start feeling it far more on the lower back and less on the glutes and hamstrings. So the further you push back with that soft bend in the knees, the more your glutes are going to stretch and the harder they're going to be working to pull you back up. So as you come back up, point your toes out and make sure that you're driving your hips or driving your heels to the ground and squeezing your hips forward, squeezing your glutes forward. And then the last thing finally is just to keep your shoulder blades pinned back together throughout the movement. Keep the chin down neutral. Go 3 more, 3. Drive the hips forward. Heels to the ground, squeeze the glutes. And final one, drive the heels to the ground, squeeze the glutes. Good, well done. This is the barbell deficit reverse lunge. Okay, you can start that. So the reverse lunge is my favorite type of lunge for emphasizing the glutes. So you want to start with 2 feet up on the plate, okay, and step back and drive forward back to the 2 feet on the plate again. Exactly, so it's a dynamic movement, so you're moving position of your feet from back to forward all the time. So what you want to really focus on here is making sure that you set up properly. So you set up properly by, first of all, grabbing the bar nice and tight, the similar what we go through with the barbell squat. Hands as close to your shoulders as possible and your upper back muscles flexed like a lat pull down or a seated cable row. And then the second part is to make sure that your full shoe is on the plate or on the box that you're using to elevate your foot. So that's a big mistake people make, is half of their foot is off it and they're losing balance then. So very simply, just keep your full shoe on it. And as you step back then, you drive through the heel that's on the plate to get yourself back to the starting position. Squeeze tight, step back and drive yourself through the heel back to the starting position. This is the flat dumbbell bench press. So start by resting the dumbbells on your legs. And this is an exercise that a lot of girls skip, even though it can be very, very good for building strength in your upper body, especially if you're at the start of your strength training journey. So make sure your feet are planted into the ground behind your knees and just fall back and start your first rep. So making sure that you have a really solid base, as in your feet are planted into the ground, and just bring them back a little bit, Lily, and that they're behind your knees. That makes all the difference. And push them hard as you can into the ground, and then push your knees out hard as you can and squeeze your glutes. And if you do that, you'll feel far more stable. And once you have your feet and your knees, your glutes really tensed, pushing your knees out, what you want to do is push your head as hard as you can into the bench and press up all the way to the top. So head into the bench and upper back into the bench, and focus on punching up hard as you can. So you'll feel far stronger and your technique will be better if you focus on pushing your head and your back into the bench rather than trying to lift the dumbbells up. Let's go 1 more. And punch, 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 hard as you can. Excellent, well done. This is the T-bar row. And if you have access to a landmine, this is easily one of my favorite ways of training the row. So you can start here. So grab it tight as you can. So I far prefer this to any other type of bent over row. And I feel it a lot more in my lats than any other type of bent over row. So this handle here and this landmine, they're not expensive whatsoever, but they're very, very effective for this exercise. So you want to lean forward and keep, if you want to use your lats as much as possible, hold yourself in position. So good strong glutes, hamstrings and lower back is needed. And you want to drive your elbows back by your sides. So it's not about getting your elbows as high as possible, it's about keeping them by your sides and squeeze them back. You'll feel your lats working very, very hard. So this gives the advantage above a chest supported row or a seated cable row. You'll be able to use a bit more weight. You'll be able to push progressively overload a little bit harder. And if you use those other types of rows first, learning this will be a little bit easier. So I wouldn't do this as a beginner movement. I'd learn the other more chest supported rows where the spine isn't loaded first and then move on to this. This is the banded glute walks, and this is an excellent finisher for the glutes after you've done your heavier compound lifts. So you can start there. So you squat down just above parallel and then take 3 steps to the right as big as you can, and then 3 steps back to the left as big as you can. So what I would do these for, rather than for reps, I do them for time. So I'd be doing them for 30 seconds, maybe the first time you do them, time under attention for 3 rounds. And I'd be building that up to 60 to 90 seconds time under tension for 3 rounds. So push the knees out hard as you can. And these start to really burn because, like I said, you're under tension the whole time. So the harder the glutes has to work and the less of a break it gets in between, it's the perfect exercise to do at the end of the session to finish off or to really activate your glutes as much as possible, to burn them out at the end of the session. This is the reverse sled drag, and this is easily one of my favorite exercises that doesn't really get used that often, but it's a big part. The reason I even put the Astro in my gym was so we could do sled drags and sled pushes. Okay, so short, quick steps as fast as you can, and you can think about this as the same or very, very similar to a step up. So those muscles right above the kneecap, your VMO are going to get worked really, really hard. And short, quick steps. So as you do heavier weight on these, it'll massively help your squat and your squat technique. As the limiting factor in a lot of people's squat technique is the strength of that muscle, the VMO, just above the kneecap. This is the reverse easy bar curl. This is the best exercise you can do for helping your pull-ups. So apart from doing pull-ups and eccentric pull-ups themselves, this exercise works the elbow flexors and the forearms really, really hard. So you can start your set, and that's perfect technique there. So a few main coaching points. The one would be keep your elbows tight to your sides. Okay, so don't have your elbows coming out. The second would be don't be using momentum or leaning too much. Sometimes it's okay to use a little bit of momentum in a bicep curl and to get the last rep or 2 out of the set. That's no problem with a reverse curl or a standing bicep curl, but generally you want to use as little momentum as possible. And you'll feel this working your forearms really, really hard if you're new to the exercise. But because it's new to the system and because you haven't done it before, also means you're usually able to make a lot of progress in it very, very quickly. So that'll help your forearms and your biceps, which really helps you on the way to getting your first chin up. And just pull up to the top, all the way up. And on the last rep, I'd be trying to go as slow as possible on the way down. So real slow, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Perfect, real slow, all the way to the bottom. This is the decline dumbbell tricep extension. So you can start there, Lee. So I love this exercise because the decline isolates your tricep a little bit more. So what we want to do is straighten up our arms, dead straight. We're going to bring the arms back a little bit. Straighten the arm again, all the way. And what we want to do, go both arms. And exactly. Bend the elbow and fire it up. Bend the elbow and drive up fast as you can. So the elbows can go sideways a little bit. That's completely fine. But what you're trying to do is not turn it into a pullover where your elbows are going forward and back. So keep them pointing towards the ceiling as much as possible. And if you're doing these perfectly for the first couple of reps and it gets really difficult after that, that's completely normal. So what you do then is the elbow comes forward, so bring it forward like this, and then press up to the top, and then normal on the way down. So exactly, bring the elbow forward and up to the top, and one more like that. And that's the way I always teach people if they're new to the exercise and they can't get all the reps. So you can bench press it up and then tricep extension it out. Exactly. Perfect. Do it like that and get those extra few reps through using the bench press to get it back up, and you're going to feel your triceps absolutely on fire.